Hey families, I just want to follow up with what you're gonna do, or what I did to test Lamarck's hypothesis about cold adaptation being whether or not it's heritable. And so this is what you're gonna do, and I'm only showing you one cross, but this is sort of the procedure for the 25 to 30 or so crosses that you made. So what I've got is the cross, and I've already gotten rid of the parents a couple of days ago, and now the children are emerging, and this happens to be Ebony, not cold adapted females versus Ebony cold adapted males. And I put the date on when I removed the parents. So I'm pretty sure at this point these are all the kids. And I've got an empty vial. There's only a few empty vials. So what I do is I just reuse them. I might take like 5 of these and put one into each of my 5 empty vials, and then just take a little bit of my isopropyl alcohol, if I can get a paper towel here, and clean off the labels and then reuse them. So clean off you can see there's like a label there. So I'm going to clean that off and label this. This is, helps when your marker actually works. Ebony worm versus female versus Ebony. Just double check, make sure I'm doing that right. Yeah. Ebony cold male. All right, and the last thing you're gonna need is a fresh food vial. You can see that I was working on these yesterday. There was some offspring, the F1 generation. So I've already populated this new food vial with the next generation, but I can once I'm done testing these for cold adaptation, by putting them here and then throwing them in the fridge, I can then move them over to the fresh food and they'll start a new generation. Originally what I was gonna do was like transfer these directly to the food the first time, and then after the subsequent days transfer them to an empty vial and then to the new food vial. But my concern there was, I'm not sure about this, but my concern was that the food's got a lot of water in it, because you've hydrated it. And water actually has a pretty good heat capacity. So it takes longer to cool it down. And I was worried that would affect the results, right? If the water takes longer to cool down, and the flies on top of the mushy food take longer to cool down. And so it would make it longer for them to get knocked out by cold. So in that case, you have really 2 options. One is to just, I take back what I said about the 2 options. Best thing to do is transfer, like starting from the beginning, transfer first to your empty vial. That cools off really quickly in the fridge, and then do that first, and then transfer to the fresh food and do that for several days. So I'll show you how that's done. I don't know if you remember, I put some tape on either side just to make sure that the stopper doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just gonna peel it back enough that I can pull the stopper off, but leave the tape on so that I can put it back. These are both moving, and thanks. All right, let's see if I can pull this off without embarrassing myself. Sometimes it happens. when Gracie was transferring flies, she's like, oh, I got some escapees. I was like, it's like when you leave your car on leave the lights on your car on and turn off the ignition. That problem is going to take care of itself. Okay, so I didn't get all of them, but I did get a lot of them. I'll be fine. All right, so I'm gonna put these in the fridge and just check them every 5 minutes or so. Tap them down. You can see that they're immediately crawling back up. If it takes them a few seconds before they start doing that, that's what I'm calling cold adapted. Now you may want to change that up a little bit. As long as you're consistent across all of your crosses, the data are good. Before you transfer them to your food, so you're gonna do the cold adaptation. I'll put them in the fridge right now. Pretend that I brought them back from the fridge. Before you transfer them to the new food vial, you're gonna want to sort them. So there again, they're already knocked out, which is nice. So you just dump them on your fly sorter apparatus. And then you're going to use the spreadsheet that comes with this material to sort out, the males and the females, and then what you notice about their features. So that's where the magnifying glass that you made is going to be really helpful, right? So give me a second and I'll walk you through that spreadsheet. So this is the spreadsheet I came up with. There's a couple of tabs at the bottom that I still need to create, but for your Lamarck experiments, this is, I think, what it's going to look like. So you can see that all of the crosses are kind of laid out in the same general format as where is it? One second. As I have here in the first part of the assignment. So you've got Antennapedia females times Antennapedia males, and that's this box right here. And then you've got Antennapedia females times Ebony males, and that's this box right here, is this kind of set of boxes right here. So what I have is for all of your progeny, all of your kids from your crosses, when you put together your crosses, right, you let your virgin females and your males mate and lay eggs, and maybe a week later you either transfer them just to have backups, or you send them to fly heaven by smooshing or freezing, whatever you prefer. And then, once, you'll start to see the larva kind of crawling around, and you'll see the pupa kind of sticking to the sides of the tube. And then because you got rid of the parents, all that's going to emerge once you actually start to see adult flies is your progeny, your F1 kids. And so what I do every day is just, anesthetize them, take a look at them, and count how many males, which is here, how many females, and then what they look like. At this point, you're probably pretty familiar with the what we call the phenotypes, what these flies look like. So for example, like if they have wonky shaped antennae, right? They've got Antennapedia. If they're really dark, you can probably see ebony flies a mile away. If their body color is really dark, they have the ebony phenotype. If their eye shape is small and not round, kind of wonky shaped, they're eyeless. If their wings are really small and don't look like they could do a whole lot, those are vestigial wing shape. And if their eye color is white, it's white eye color. So like I said, for every day or so, for about a week, I'll just anesthetize the flies from each cross and count, how many males, how many females, and what their uh what I see. And so the best I could come up with in terms of how to record their phenotypes is to just say, okay, I've got five females, 1 through 5 from the eyeless cross. Shock of shocks is that they've all got the eyeless phenotype. Their eye shape is all wonky. But otherwise, they look pretty normal. And then I've got another 7 males. Again, they're all eyeless. Now, it is possible that you will have so what I do is I say 1 through 5 is female and eyeless. It could be more, right? It's possible that you could have your females 1 through 5 could be eyeless and ebony, for example. So in that case, I would match the numbers, right? Female 1 would I put a 1 in the eyeless box and a 1 in the ebony box. Now female 2, maybe she's just eyeless. In that case, I would put her in the 2. I would put 2 in an eyeless box, but not in the ebony box. Now 3, maybe it's both again. So I would say, 3 goes into the ebony box and the eyeless box, just as an example. Maybe there's a better way to do this that's just easier to read. So if you think of something, please let me know. I want this to be as clear and easy as possible. This was the best I could come up with, but maybe you can come up with something better, in which case I'd love to hear about it. Now, of course, the sorting part is the second part of our Lamarck experiments. The first is to see if the flies are actually cold adapted. So every day or so, I count, like I start by anesthetizing the flies, and I'll do that through, I'll put them in the fridge and just check every 5 minutes or so and see how long it takes once I tap. The flies fall down, and if they don't immediately start crawling back up the side of the tube, I say, okay, they're fairly anesthetized, and that's how long it takes them to knock them out with cold. Again, you may have a better way of doing that, in which case I would love to hear about it. It's helpful, whatever your way is, if it's measurable in some way, like if you can put a time or a number in some way, that makes it easier to quantify. So in this case, the first day I checked this particular cross, 12 flies had emerged from their pupa, and it took them like a little less than 17 minutes for them to get knocked out. And I'll check again the next day, and I'll knock them out. I'll record the time it takes to knock them out, and then I will sort them, and I'll count them and populate here, and then get the total. So if tomorrow I get 10 flies, 5 female, 5 male, I'll knock them out, record how long it takes to knock them out, say it's 17 minutes. And then there were 10 of them. And then I'll say, okay, female, 13 through 17 were eyeless, and male 18 through 22 were eyeless. You know what I mean? So just as an example. The other thing is, and then again, this is totally optional, is your bonus crosses. So that's on the second tab at the bottom. So you can see like the first tab is F1. Those are your 25 crosses that you're definitely going to want to do. So we're gonna use the heck out of those data. But again, remember I said there are some options if you want to do a few more crosses where you've got Antennapedia, both male and female, that are cold adapted. See if their kids are more resistant to being knocked down by cold. And then Antennapedia cold adapted females versus crossed with not cold adapted males, not cold adapted females crossed with cold adapted males, and then Atenopenia male and females that really have never seen the cold. Let's see how their kids do with cold, being anesthetized with cold. So I did this for both Antennapedia and Ebony. Again, this part is completely optional, but it's a fun additional control. So and bragging rights. So yeah, like I said, I hope this is helpful for gathering your data. I know it's a lot, but it actually doesn't take very long for each cross. Especially, I can put, several crosses worth of flies into the fridge and just check them every 5 minutes. And then when they're anesthetized, take them all out and sort through each one. And it goes pretty quickly. So yeah, I can't wait to hear all about your results.